Hello and welcome back to the Reading Studio. I'm Mr. LP, here again as your read aloud specialist, making sure we get another daily dose of our read aloud. And today's pet book is called the Two Bobbies, and it is a true story of Hurricane Katrina, friendship and survival by Kirby, Larson and Mary Nethery, illustrated by Jean Cassels. Two Bobbies. Neither Bobby the dog nor Bob Cat has a tail, and some say that's what brought them together. No one knows for sure how they met. Perhaps their owner had a soft spot for pets with no tails, but the two Bobbies, as they've now come to be known, were each exactly the friend the other needed at exactly the right time. This is their story. Let's get into it. The city of New Orleans on the mighty Mississippi is a place many people and pets call home. Jamming with jazz and dressing up fancy for Mardi Gras, it bustled with the life, day and night. But on August 29th, 2005, Hurricane Katrina bore down on the city and everyone who lived there, including a wisp of a cat and one puppy. Winds roared to 110 miles an hour. Rain pounded hard and fast. Strong winds pushed walls of water from the Gulf of Mexico into Lake Pontchartrain. Some of the levees holding back the lake gave way. Water poured into the city deeper and deeper. People who stayed through the storm were finally forced to leave their homes. They had to say goodbye to everything they loved. Many were told they could not take their pets. Bobbi and Bob Cat were left behind. Bobbi had been tethered to a length of chain. Bob Cat stayed by her side. Together, in the silent heat, they waited for help to come. After the storm, volunteers from across the country came to New Orleans to lend a hand. They brought food and water. They rescued people stranded on the roofs of their homes, and they rescued many animals. But with so much damage and confusion, the two Bobbies were not rescued. Their food and water gone, Bobbi finally broke free. She dragged along the broken chain with Bob Cat close beside her. In the early days after the hurricane, the two Bobbies tried to make their way around oily water littered with debris. After the waters receded, they traveled the buckled streets with no place to call home. Month after month passed as Bobbi and Bob Cat wandered the devastated city. Their days and nights were filled with danger. Packs of hungry, homeless dogs roamed the streets, fighting smaller dogs and animals for food. Were Bobbi and Bob Cat chased away from any scraps they might have found? With little food to eat or clean water to drink, Bobbi's ribs began to show. Bob Cat's brown sugar markings started to fade to a dull white. One day in January, 4 long months later, Bobbi and Bob Cat strayed onto a job site. A construction crew hammered and sawed, fixing up a motel damaged by the hurricane. A worker's dog rushed over to play with Bobbi. The dog's owner, Rich, noticed Bob Cat too. He saw how thin the two strays were and began feeding them. He trimmed Bobbi's chain, leaving enough to jingle on the ground because Bob Cat liked to follow it. But every time Rich tried to touch Bob Cat, Bobbi growled. After a week of caring for the two Bobbies, Rich got some bad news when his boss came to the job site. He had given permission for one dog, but not two dogs, and a cat. He said Bobbi and Bob Cat had to go. Rich was determined to take them to a safe place, but Bobbi still growled whenever Rich got too near Bob Cat. She would not let him pick up or even touch her friend. So Rich rattled a bowl full of kibble. Bobbi followed the food to Rich's van, and Bob Cat followed Bobbi. Rich drove them to a temporary shelter that best friends Animal Society had set up in Celebration Station, a former video game arcade. The shelter was completely filled with homeless dogs and cats, but a volunteer welcomed them in, even naming them Bobbi and Bob Cat for their bobbed tails. They were placed in separate rooms. All night long, Bobbi howled and barked. Bobcat paced back and forth. No one could sleep with Bobbi making such a ruckus, so volunteers made a large pen for her and put Bobcat in his smaller carrier inside Bobbi's new cage. Bobbi lay in front of Bobcat and whimpered. The volunteers opened the small cage to see what would happen. The two Bobbies touched noses, together again at last. For the next few minutes, the volunteers studied Bobbi and Bobcat. They noticed how Bobcat stayed close to Bobbi. They saw how he walked with his neck stuck out and how he carefully lifted his front paws, placing them down as if he were unsure of what he might step on. Someone waved a hand in front of Bobcat's face. Bobcat did not jump back. Another volunteer waved her hand. Bobcat did not even blink. Everyone was stunned. Bobcat was blind. All that time on their own, Bobbi had been Bobcat's seeing eye dog. The volunteers and even an ace pet detective searched for their family, with no success. 1 month later, Celebration Station closed its doors, but Bobbi and Bobcat still did not have a home. There was only one thing left to try. The two Bobbies made a television appearance on CNN's Anderson Cooper 360. The very next day, the Best Friends volunteers left New Orleans. One of them drove Bobbi and Bobcat to the Best Friends Animal Sanctuary in Utah, where they would stay until a new family could be found. They were on their way west when the news came in. Hundreds of people wanted to adopt them. It would take a very special family to adopt them together. The volunteers made a list and invited everyone on it to come and meet the two Bobbies. Only Melinda and her Boston Terrier Gus Gus made the long trip to Utah. That night, Bobbi and Bobcat had a sleepover with Melinda and Gus Gus in one of the cottages on the sanctuary grounds. Would the two Bobbies choose Melinda? The next morning, everyone knew the answer. Bobbi and Bobcat were stuck to Melinda like Velcro. They also liked Gus Gus, and he liked them. Finally, Bobbi and Bobcat had found their new family. Now, they live with Melinda, Gus Gus, and Amelia on a ranch in southern Oregon. Bobcat has a window seat to sit in. He likes to play with the robot vacuum cleaner. He turns it on all by himself. Bobbi helps with the ranch chores. She goes along on horse rides. On hot days, she lounges in the frog and fairy pond. At the end of the day, Bobbi and Bobcat snuggle up together. They have toys and treats and lots of new friends, even a camel. Best of all, they have each other. The end. And here's a little postscript. After the storm, like thousands of others, the two Bobbies lost their family and everything dear to them when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans. After they came to live with Melinda and Gus Gus, their veterinarian discovered debris and grit deep inside Bobcat's ear canals. His right eardrum was broken. Did Bobbi snatch Bobcat from the dirty floodwaters that had filled New Orleans? No one will ever know, but it is very likely that a blind cat like Bobcat would not have made it without Bobbi's protection. In turn, Bobcat's friendship may have made Bobbi stronger and given her a reason to go on. Bobbi and Bobcat survived Hurricane Katrina. They did it by lending each other a paw. The end. Thanks for tuning in. It's a great story called The Two Bobbies. Please be sure to like and subscribe. If you like what I'm doing here, if you like the read-alouds, it's greatly appreciated. Also, hit the notification bell so you can get notifications of all the new read-alouds each and every day.